Hi, I'm here with Ricardo Rossello. He is the governor of Puerto Rico. Governor, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
So you're here in New York, getting ready to meet with the Federal Oversight Board about a revised fiscal plan for Puerto Rico that incorporates about $16 billion in federal funds. Now, we've heard from several bondholder groups that have come out in recent days criticizing this plan, saying it lacks credibility, it lacks viability. What do you say to those bondholders?
Well, we've been working hard on this plan on fiscal measures. We're very confident that many of these measures are going to be very effective. We're making structural changes so that whatever we do right now is lasting, right? What happens in typical disaster recoveries is that people see all of the money, invest in a temporary fashion, but then all of the money goes. What we want to make sure is that whatever we do, it puts us on a path forward to economic growth, to workforce recovery, and to have better development of human resources and so forth. So I feel it's a very strong fiscal plan. We're at a much better position today than what we were 3 weeks ago when we submitted the original version of it because of the federal funding that's coming to Puerto Rico. So I think it is an optimal plan for all stakeholders.
Now, with regard to transparency and money coming in the door and where it's going out, I know there have been some concerns in recent years over audited financials, something that can help explain or at least put numbers onto some of the assumptions that are made with regard to the fiscal plan that you put forward. Are we going to see audited financials? Why have we not seen audited financials?
It has been one of our greatest frustrations. We need the whole of government to put in some of these data points, and of course that includes some of the entities such as the public corporations, right? And I think we're really have done a sweep throughout, but there is one or two components that are still in the process of being isolated. I would say that within the next few weeks that should be done, and we can start seeing finally the first of audited financial statements. And then once we get the first ones, the other ones, should follow, because we're 3 years backlog, right? This comes back from the previous administration. We've been trying to isolate what the problems are, and now we're confident that once we get this first one out, we'll get the other ones soon thereafter.
So just to be clear, the first one being those from 2015,
that's right.
We could see those in a few weeks' time.
Well, we could finish that certification process, hopefully within the next few weeks, and then after that, whatever it takes for the auditors and everything to finalize the process.
And I know one of the difficult assumptions that you have had to deal with while preparing the fiscal plan is this population decline. The number's 20% in the plan that you've put forward, which also coincides with a decline in tax revenue and an increase in expenses. What are your plans with regard to the budget as it, with those two components put together?
Right. Well, the increase in expenses has a lot to do with, or had a lot to do with two main components. One, the lack of funding for Medicaid in Puerto Rico, which brought up the gap, and secondly, our transition to a pay-go system from the pensions. So those were the two main drivers. But we need to make clear that our plan assumes that we're going to slash about $1.2 billion continuously from government expenditures and right sizing of government, aside from other measures that we're going to be taking in addition to that. So there is a significant reduction in costs. We are right sizing it, of course, to meet the needs of the population and to meet the needs of the people of Puerto Rico. But there are some components that for the transformation, for it to work, such as the pay-go system transformation, that of course will make more of the money come from the budget as opposed to just being a fund.
What's your plan then to regain access to the capital markets, given everything that's been going on over the last couple years? Do you have a plan in place to be able to borrow again?
Yes, well, here's the importance. There are some milestones that need to be met. First, a fiscal plan needs to be certified. Secondly, we will go through a Title III process where there's going to be that discussion with the bondholders. There may be some arrangements, there may not. The court might decide. But I think once there is clarity in the process and once some of these milestones are met, then we can see the path forward as to when and where we can get access to the market. So I am confident that within a week or two, this fiscal plan will be certified. Then the next step will be sort of tackling the Title III component of it. And once we start seeing sort of a clarity on that process, you know, notwithstanding what bondholders will get or won't get, there will be clarity to a process, and I think that's going to be beneficial for Puerto Rico to once again regain access to the market.
There was actually a recent paper by Nobel Prize winner Joseph Stiglitz where he talked about actually considering borrowing again to get the economy going, that austerity is actually the wrong measure to take for Puerto Rico. Is that something you're considering in the near term, borrowing again?
Well, right now, the federal funds that are coming really help in that direction. And secondly, I would say that this fiscal plan is much different than the first one, precisely because it's not. It's not driven by austerity measures. It's driven by structural changes and structural reforms. And I think that is critical because, again, just to give you one example, Puerto Rico has had a chronic labor participation rate historically. Now, we're talking about 40% labor participation rate, which is, you know, one of the lowest in the world. Perennially. It doesn't matter what administration comes. So there needs to be a structural change there that we need to take this opportunity to do so that we can increase that, you know, that 40% to a 50% and then 60%, so that we can get more to more normal natural levels. So there are some structural changes that within this context, they don't have to be austerity driven. They just have to provoke us to change the economic way forward.
What can you do to actually increase that to 50%, 60%, more normalized levels?
There's a few set of ideas that are being discussed. I think you need to incentivize the path from welfare to work. We are proposing a work requirement for NAP, for example. We are seeing some of the labor structures relative to the United States and seeing how those can be modified in Puerto Rico. We are proposing an earned income tax credit as well, so that that transition towards the the workforce is easier. Because right now the problem is, if you are a family head with 2 kids, for example, and you get offered a minimum wage job, you will lose a certain set of I would say, components from welfare that just don't make it economically viable to make that transition. So what we want to make sure is that people have that path forward to transition into working, and that we can incentivize it moving forward.
Now, there have been a lot of reports lately that cryptocurrency has become an attractive feature of Puerto Rico. What do you make of this decision by a lot of people who've made a lot of money in cryptocurrencies and investing in cryptocurrencies coming to Puerto Rico to live and develop what they call a Puertopia? And additionally, what do you make of kind of the decision to move there to take advantage of some of the tax efficiencies that Puerto Rico has?
Well, I'm going to divide this in several layers. First, whoever wants to come to Puerto Rico and can enjoy the benefits of Puerto Rico, come to Puerto Rico. Secondly, there is a division in my mind between what is cryptocurrency and what is blockchain, right? I think blockchain is a phenomenal technology. I think it's a game changer. Cryptocurrency is sort of an application of that. I am concerned with some of the reports that have been going on there on how this is being used. So in my view, there's still a lot of work to be done in giving clarity that this is not used for, money laundering, or it's not used for other areas. But certainly, I would invite folks to sort of differentiate between what is an application and what is blockchain, which is a game changer for technology. So we would really, at least my administration, would like to take advantage of the blockchain component of it, because it has transformative and disruptive components for business and for government.
I want to also talk to you specifically about electricity. You mentioned that about 80% of the population has had electricity restored since the storm, and you've come out with a plan to privatize PREPA by selling off pieces. Have you been in conversations with big U.S. corporations, namely Tesla, about potentially providing some sort of microgrid system? Can you give us an update on kind of where those sales talks stand and where the partnerships stand?
So we're very early on in the process, because We just recently announced it, and what we want to make sure is that, number one, we have the legal framework to do it. We're going to present a law, a project, a bill in the next couple of days, and then that we can have a framework set that's transparent and that those negotiations can occur. But what I can tell you, I haven't spoken directly on any of these projects with anybody, but we do have a P3 structure, a public-private alliance structure, and it has what it's called an unsolicited proposal mechanism. Before and after the storm, there have been 19 people that have submitted unsolicited proposals for energy projects. So Tesla being one of them, right? Puma and Sonnen, others, I think have submitted proposals for energy. So my sense from that is that there is interest. How is that going to manifest into the structure that we're going to build based on the resources and the needs that we have? It's still to be seen, but certainly we want to transition into a utility 2.0 that's customer-centric, that can become an economic driver, that's sustainable, and that has a shift from expensive oil to more of a renewable or cleaner mechanism.
Thank you very much, Ricardo Rossello, the Governor of Puerto Rico.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.